Hi everyone. My name is Priya. I will be guest chairing today for office hours. This is actually my first time attending office hours, so if I miss anything, please feel free to jump right in and let me know. But if you could please sign in into the meeting attendees list, we can jump right in. It looks like we have a demo cosine for BYO-PKI enhancements. Doesn't say who was going to give that demo.
Yeah, hi, this is Mukul, and I will be giving that demo.
Great. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you. Let me share. Are you able to see my screen?
No, not right now.
Uh,
Cool. Yeah, now we can.
okay, so, okay, let me take a point. Yeah, so basically, this is related to the enhancement that we are proposing. And primarily, this is centric to the use case for a private CA. Let's say there is an organization which already has an existing infrastructure for the PKI, but now they want to introduce cosine in their overall implementation. So we figured out that there are some enhancements which are required to make this use case work. And regarding that, there is a pull request that I have created, and I will be focusing on that use case today. So as I just explained briefly, the description is that, let's say there is a company who has a private CA, which is used for the certificate generation and signing. And now the corporate wants to use their existing infrastructure for signature signing or certificate generation, but then still wants to use Cosign tool to upload the signature certificate chain in the registry, and also use the Cosign functionality to verify the content of the image at the verifier side using some trusted root certificate shared out of band by the verifier to the of the corporate. So if I go to a diagram, so this is overall picture what I wanted to present. So assume there is a company and a client. So there is an out of band mechanism where a company is sharing the trusted root certificate to their clients. And now let's say company wants to basically sign an artifact. So what it will be doing is that it will be first uploading it in a registry which is accessible to its clients, then using the payload command, basically cosine generate command, fetch the payload of the of the artifact from the registry, and it will actually share the digest of that payload to existing PKI infrastructure or the private CA they have. Now, the private CA of the company will return back to the signer the signature certificate and the certificate chain. These can be now uploaded in the registry using the attach command. So the first enhancement that we are proposing is basically to enhance the attach command. Currently, the attach command does not support the attachment of the certificate and the certificate chain. So with this enhancement, yeah, the user will be able to attach the certificate and the certificate chain along with the signature and the payload in the registry. Now, once this is done, then using the existing CI/CD mechanisms, the delivery will go to the client. And at the client side, now the client can use the trusted root certificate, which is given by an out-of-band channel in the verify command to verify this content. The need for this trusted root certificate is that because any adversary can modify the content in the registry, so they can change the signature cert or the cert chain. So there should be a source of trust at the verifier side, and this is the trusted root certificate which is available to the verifier, which he can pass in the verify command to verify the content. So on very top level, this is the use case. So the second enhancement that we are proposing is to basically include in the verify command uh, option where user can provide the trusted root certificate, and using that only, it will automatically fetch the cert and cert chain which is there in the registry to verify the signature and the associated artifact data. So going forward, from the functionality point of view, what has been introduced is basically, as I mentioned, two enhancements are proposed. First is basically to enhance the attach command to support the attachment of the certificate and certificate chain, along with the existing functionality to upload the payload and signature in the registry. And the second is to enhance the verify command to support verification of the artifact by just providing a trusted root certificate, which is local to the verifier. And with this feature, it will fetch the cert and cert chain and basically verify the content. So on the face of it, it is very similar to the full queue, the public CA's use case, where basically we fetch the root certificate from full queue. In this case, it is a local root certificate available with the verifier to verify the content. So if I go on basically the changes on the attach command, we have introduced two options to pass the cert and cert chain. So the modified attach command to attach the content, let's say along with the signature, you can pass the, currently you can pass the signature and payload, but now the cert and cert chain option will also be available so that you can attach the certificates and the certificate chain along with the content in the registry. On the verifier, on the verify command side, this is a new attribute that we propose to implement. And in this, you can pass a locally stored trusted root certificate in this attribute, and then it will fetch the certificate and certificate chain in the registry to verify the content. So this is a basic, but now I will like to present in a demo on this part just to show. So I have a Harbor registry here, and there is a artifact which is not signed. So what I'm doing is that to save the time, I have already created the signatures beforehand and the certificate. So I will be directly using the cosign attach command. I'm passing now the payload, and now comes the new attributes for attaching the certificate and the cert chain. And because it's a test bed I have, so I'm just using the allow insecure registry option. And then I have to give the path of the artifact. So it's basically, it has done the attachment now. So let me try to refresh it. So yeah, here you have now the signature attached. So let's see the manifest for it. So I'm using Crane for that. So I have dumped the manifest, and I'll now try to show that. Okay, so this is the updated manifest file, and in this you can see in the annotation we have the signature, we have the certificate, and then we also have the cert chain associated to it. So the attachment of the certificate and the cert chain has happened along with the signature, which was a previously existing functionality. So now let me go to the next part of it, which is related to the verify part. So here, what I'll do, I will use the new option for the verification. So this is the new option that I have proposed in the, so here I'm passing the root certificate and the image. But then because I'm not using the SCT and the record transparency log, so I have to give some options to suppress that. So it should be fine. So here you can see the cosine claims has been validated with this option. And let's assume if somebody modifies the content there and it's not matching with the root certificate which is available at the verifier, so it will fail. So I will just try to. So if instead of the correct root certificate, let me take another one. Sorry for this. So I'm picking another root cert which is actually not matching with the certificate chain which is there in the registry. And just passing the suppression. So here you can see that because there is a mismatch between what we are passing as the trusted root certificate and what is there in the registry, so it fails the verification. So this way, basically, from the user point of view, he just have to just share the root certificate, which he trusts, and then using that, the certificate and the certificate chain can be validated. Before I conclude on this demo, I would just like to share one more alternate way because I had a communication on this before. It is something like that. That today, what is the alternate way to implement this thing? So I just want to also present that thing to the team. So the other option is that we can basically we can use the Sigstore root environment. So if I use the, in this case, if I use the Sigstore root uh, file and point it to my local certificate, so I'm setting this variable here, and then I can use the cosine verify only. And in this case, I don't have to even pass the this argument. I will go to directly to the artifact part. In this case, we have to actually pass two more attributes for the certificate identity and the certificate OIDC issuer. So I'm currently using a wildcard regular expression for that. Yeah, should also. So here you can see it is matched again Fulco roots, and in my adaptation I have actually also modified this print function. I have just put bring your own PKI root when I'm using this option for the local option for the root certificate. So this is an alternate way. So I'm just trying to highlight is that it is almost similar to what we are trying to do from Fulco. But instead of it, basically an argument is there to specifically pass the root cert. So I will just stop sharing now.
I'll just chime in, since this PR. Thanks for demoing this. I'll also say that I don't know if he's in the call. Nathan is also taking a look at a lot of bring your own PKI stuff. There'll actually be to plug his talk, a talk at Cloud Native Security Con coming up on this. So he's also uncovering a lot of issues that he's found with BYO PKI, and I'll say that Zach Newman, another person working on Cosign, and I have also been talking about the bring your own PKI story, because it's definitely an area that we need to improve. And I think there's some questions that we kind of need to answer around how do we want Cosign to act in these cases, because right now Cosign's been very opinionated. And I think we'll need some sort of mode where maybe it's a little bit less opinionated to support these types of cases where you're bringing your own PKI. I'll say just on this PR, like I said in a comment, I think adding this to attach totally makes sense. That makes it more like the signed command, which is totally reasonable. I think we don't need the root cert command, because we can use either the environment variable like you demoed, or the certificate chain flag. I'm not sure that is named appropriately to convey that you can pass root material there. That's another thing that there's another issue tracking. But I would not recommend adding the root cert flag in this PR, just because it's going to be a little confusing to have multiple flags where you can pass a root. But yeah, I think this looks good. Definitely a useful addition to Cosign.
Okay, thanks, Aidan. Actually, I tried the cert chain option also. But actually, what is happening is that if I just pass the cert chain, Cosine is still trying to basically figure it out the root from the Fulico. So in any case, just passing the cert chain in an argument was not really working for me. I can also try it again. But what I saw is that to make it work, I just have to give the Fulico root, and that could only be done with the Sigstore environment variable. So when you say that there is an option to pass the root certificate in cert chain, so I tried it, but it was really not working actually that way. If I just pass it as a cert chain without setting the root certificate in the Sigstore root environment variable, it was actually failing. So that's why the only option I could manage to work was with the environment variable only.
Yeah, this could be related to one of the other issues Nathan found too. So feel free to post what command you were running on the PR, and I can take a look later and see if that matches up with some of the issues that Nathan found. But yeah, I think the environment variable that you're setting, that definitely should work.
Okay.
As I remember, we had some open cases with the test writing of this new functionality.
Yeah, so because this is first time actually I'm contributing to the cosine, so I just wanted to know a bit more on the requirements here. So I can understand that I have to share some test cases for the unit testing and also the end-to-end test cases. So what I now understand, it is mainly for the attach command, Hayden, that you are saying that that should I should go forward with and remove the changes that I have done for the verify. So the test cases will be primarily centric only for the attach part, correct? And in that case, what I saw from the current structure, you have some end-to-end test cases. There are some scripts which are written. So primarily, I think that is what you are asking for to add to it, where I can use those scripts to attach the certificate and the certificate chain. Unit test cases, I didn't find anything before also for the attach command. You have your unit test cases for verify, but nothing for the attach command currently in Cosine.
Yeah, I think you'll find when developing on Cosine that tests are in some state at any point, sometimes more fleshed out than others. If there's an opportunity to add more unit tests, great. Otherwise, there's something like the end-to-end test file. It's a bit large,
Yeah.
but it is comprehensive. So that's one place to take a look at adding some tests.
Okay, so that I will do then. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the demo. It sounds like we have a plan to add in the certificate insert chain support to the attach command, potentially see if there's a bug in verify with setting the certificate chain / Sigstore root file and var at the same time. And add some tests. Yeah, this is really exciting. Thank you for the demo. There's nothing left on the demos and discussion section. So I guess we can move on to any other business. Oh, yeah, Aditya, go for it.
Hi, I wasn't quite sure where this really fit in. I've wanted to talk about kind of tangential project to Sigstore with maybe some room for overlap with GitSign, and I wasn't sure if it belonged to, under the demo stuff or later in the meeting, especially since it's kind of tangential to Sigstore.
I guess if it's under any other business, we'll definitely get to it. I think it's a pretty short list today.
Okay, I also wasn't sure what AOB stood for.
Oh, yeah, stands for any other business. I think usually, typically in the community meeting, we do the intros last, so we can move that down maybe, and then we can cover or we can move the Q&A and intros to the bottom, I guess, cover the RFC that is on there. Okay, cool. Yeah, so there's a point about RFC for Sigstore and Rust packaging. I'm not sure who added that, but
oh, that's me. Yeah, I can talk briefly about that. So this is not my RFC, but I wanted to highlight it. I think probably a lot of people on the call have already seen it. I wanted to highlight it because I think it's interesting and exciting work, and I think it will be a nice litmus test for Sigstore and another relatively new and well composed packaging ecosystem. Specifically, why I wanted to bring it up in this meeting, and I think I'll bring it up in another too after people get back into the swing of things for 2023, is that the company that I work for, Trail of Bits, is looking to expand some of the work we're doing in Sigstore. And so I think there are people on this call who are probably doing work on either the Rust client or are doing things that are adjacent to Rust and would like to see Sigstore integrated into that ecosystem. And so if you can fall into that bucket, I'd like to get in contact with you, potentially talk about working together. Because like I said, we have an ongoing interest in the ecosystem, both in Rust and Python. So just a quick CFP for that. So if you're interested, I'm on the Sigstore Slack, and also my email is william@trailofbits.com. So just let me know. That's all.
Awesome. Thanks, William. Awesome. Okay, cool. I guess, Aditya, if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about now.
Sure. So my name is Aditya. I'm a PhD student at NYU, where I work with Justin Campos. I'm one of the maintainers of the Toto project. I've contributed a little to TUF with things like content addressability and a couple of other things. And one of the things we've been working on the past few months is trying to understand how we can improve the security model of Git repositories. We've had a conversation with Billy Lynch, who I think leads the development of GitSign, and I also see he's on this call. Hey, Billy. I've also met with Zach Newman a couple of times to talk things through. And yeah, so the idea is Git out of the box essentially allows you to sign commits and verify signed commits. And that's where projects like GitSign also come into the picture. They allow you to use full CO and such to sign your commits. And we started to look at what else we could do here. And I already mentioned the Tough project before, and we started distilling out some of the properties of Tough and try to see how they'd apply to Git repositories. Specifically, we wanted to enable access control policies for protecting different Git references, such as different branches or tags and so on, as well as access control policies to protect files or directories that are actually tracked in the repository itself. This will allow features like in a monorepo where you want to designate different groups of people to be able to make changes to different parts of the same repository, things like that. And of course, you've got Tufts' ability to bootstrap signing keys for all of these operations, as well as revoke them when necessary, or basically you could also theoretically integrate Git sign here. You could still say that you trust this identity to sign for a particular commit in this ref and things like that, but you can still express that as Tough policy. Was the idea. Finally, our lab did some work a few years ago with something called reference state attacks, where it was a paper that was published at Using Security, and it showed that it's possible to kind of override a reference to point to something that it shouldn't point to, right? And that's like a super concise description of that paper, and it proposed something that's called a reference state log to keep track of where a particular reference is supposed to be at any given point in time. And that's what we've been working on. We're trying to implement in RSL, and we've also been trying to implement Tufts delegation and namespacing to get the access control policies and the ability to distribute, keys and revoke them in future and things like that. I've got a very quick prototype that I can use to show off a pre-recorded demo. I do want to note that I want to emphasize that this is a prototype or a proof of concept, and we're kind of going back and we want to redo a bunch of stuff based on what we've learned through this process. So let me share my screen. So this is up on ASCII Cinema. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, yeah. So let me go full screen. So I'm going to narrate as this goes along. It's currently we've got something. Okay, I should also note that we call this prototype Git Tough at the moment, and it's got a configuration file that essentially says this is the default key to use for a particular identity as someone who's going to make changes to a repository. We initialize the repository with embed the roots and top level targets metadata and such, and we set up rules saying Alice and Bob can make changes to the main branch, and we also set up a rule saying that there's a part of the repository called foo, assuming it's like a monorepo that only Alice can make changes to. So let's say Alice goes ahead and makes some changes. You'll observe that in this case, we're using git tough commit rather than the default git commit. We're still trying to understand the right way to wrap around git commands. We don't want to kind of re-implement a full CLI for git all over again, and would like to kind of seed to the default git tool where possible. And if Bob comes along and tries to make some change in the foo space, tries to also use git tough to make this change, and GitHub's going to say this is an unauthorized file to this particular project because only Alice is allowed to make changes here. Let's restore to a valid state. And separately, I also want to show off that you want to have maybe branches that only one person or a group of people are allowed to make changes to. In this case, we've got a Bob development branch or something like that, and only Bob's allowed to make changes here. Bob works on some changes here, and then we've got Alice, who comes along and tries to make some changes there. And similar to before, right? We'll see that Alice isn't allowed to make any changes to that branch. Now we have Alice choose to step away from using git-dev and actually just use the regular old git commit. And in this scenario, we can see that that's where like the state log comes into play as well, and Bob's able to see that the state was modified without a state log entry. So like Bob's also able to detect when something goes wrong. We also can, the proof of concepts also like, currently can be used with like pulls and pushes. So in this case, I've already violated the state of the repository by committing somewhere I shouldn't have, and I've pushed it up to, so the state verification fails, and I pushed it up to a GitHub repository, right, using git push and bypassing GitHub's protections. And to a separate local, when I go to a separate local copy of this repository, which doesn't have that latest commit that violated the state, it's the one before that last one. And if I try to, and I can also see that at this point, the state, like, the policies, everything they're all fine. And if I actually try to pull in the changes using GitHub, GitHub says, okay, there has been a change, but there wasn't a corresponding reference state log entry. So it's possible someone's bypassed protection somewhere along the line. So that's like I said, that's a super early prototype still, and we're kind of reworking a bunch of things under the hood based on what we learned from putting this together. We are there are a number of applications that we're considering here, and we also would like more feedback on like the use cases from the community and so on. We believe that this model is a little stronger than like some other efforts in the space so far. Like the Geeks folks are embedding the trusted keys in the repository itself, or at least the identifiers to trusted keys in the repository itself. But they kind of like they don't focus a whole lot on what happens when a key is revoked and like the key is compromised, and how the revocation would actually look like and things like that. And as far as I'm aware, there are a number of other projects that are considering how to secure the repositories. I think the next project is also they also have some threads open about this issue, and we believe that once we reach a certain sense of stability here and get further along the development, it'll be cool to target those use cases. Finally, some of these like access control policies, right? They're not built into Git itself, but they are enabled by forges like GitHub. We have branch protection rules and some of them at least. But the thing we realized as we started working on this is it's really hard to verify that a particular repository and a particular change when you look back, at your local copy of the repository and so on. It's really hard to verify that policy was adhered to at some point in the past, because it's hard to keep track of when policies changed. And essentially, we believe this also really helps with the auditability of what's happened in the repository. So the proof of concept's up on a GitHub repository. I'll post a link in the chat here. Primarily, like I said, we're going to be redoing some of the code itself, but we're tracking like a lot of this in the issues, like the under the hood changes and things like that. So yeah, feedback is welcome. I'd love to hear about more use cases, and if people are interested in this project, also welcome contributions. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a super cool demo. So I guess for feedback, are you just looking for people to try it out, or like open issues in the repo that you're going to send?
At the moment, I think feedback rather than just trying it out, because like I said, the tool has a lot of rough edges and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done there. It's essentially being just me chugging along at the moment. I'd love to hear about workflows and use cases and other things we want to be incorporating into this, because there are multiple ways here, right? We got a version of this where everyone on your project's using GitHub and everything's signed correctly, and you got some of that. and you've got like you've got a spectrum of like decreasing security guarantees from there. Maybe you only want some parts of it, or maybe only the maintainers are going to be signing state entries. So I'm trying to like incorporate all of these features to kind of maximize the usability of this. So I'd love to hear on that side of things, and that'll also directly contribute to how some of these workflows need to look, at which point we also start tinkering with the actual implementation, and contributions are also welcome. So.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. I guess I'll give anyone else who has anything to say a second opportunity to speak up.
Yeah, quick question. So, sorry, I came late, so you may have totally addressed this, but can you clarify a little bit the relationship of this project to GetSign and Sigstore, and what the ideal long-term relationship between those projects is going to be?
I'm still kind of thinking that through, and I'd love to chat some more about it with you, Billy, anyone else who's interested in seeing all of these properties converge. At the moment, my understanding is we could incorporate signed commits and define all of these policies, saying instead of it must be signed by this key, it must be signed by this identity that filtered in through GetSign. So I think that'd be one thing, but if it, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'd also love to hear from you with like the long-term roadmap for GetSign and whether it makes sense to, how it makes sense to move forward with that.
Looks like Billy just turned on his camera. I don't know if you have something you want to say.
Not in particular. I just want to make my presence known. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about this. I mean, this question has come up a lot in GetSign already in terms of just like with commit signing alone, just like how do we know what identities to trust and how do we audit that over the lifetime of the repository, stuff like that. So definitely interested in digging deeper.
Yeah, I think it's extremely cool to have a playground outside of the sort of confines of GetSign, which is seeing some usage, right, where we can really experiment with different answers to these policy questions. And I think, likely whatever you learn in the course of this GitTough can be folded in, whether we keep, that code or whether we just take sort of the design of the system and pull it in. I think would be extremely interesting, or vice versa. We'll figure out the ideal relationship there.
Yeah, sounds good. I'd love to chat in greater detail about all of this at some point. I'm also going to be in Seattle if some of you are going to be there. I'd love to also do some of this in person.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks everyone. I guess moving on to the Q&A section. I guess feel free to just chime in or raise your hand if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about. Yeah.
I have two things. One, it just reminded me. I wanted to ask, is anybody going to be at FOSDEM in early February? I asked because I'm going to be there on behalf of another organization. And so if you are there, I'm happy to meet up and talk a bit about either Sigstore or just, get coffee or something. So just ping me in Slack. And then the other thing is with respect to the staging instance, I wanted to see, and this is like a volunteer to offer help as well. So we are on Sigstore Python using the staging instance to do our daily and nightly tests. And we've noticed there's been some known instability for the past 2 or 3 months. And then over the past week or so, it's degraded from one test failing every day or so to consistently every test failing and then having to do multiple retries. I know there's a fix in progress. And I don't want to harry anybody about it, but this is my offer of if there's any debugging I can help with on that side, more than happy to do that.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I think I need to take a look at it. I from what I remember, I think that once a day failure was us needing to downgrade the MySQL version we're using, because I think Trillian doesn't support 8.0, so we need to downgrade to 5.7. It is weird if everything is failing consistently though. That seems like a much bigger problem.
If you I think it might be a thundering herd problem where we're sending a bunch of requests at once.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's that. There's let me figure out who is actually on call for you right now. Oh, actually, I think the date. Okay, so the database will be updated to 5.7 tomorrow. Tomorrow morning
Oh.
Europe time. So hopefully by tomorrow, you'll start seeing some improvements. And if
Awesome.
not, the primary on call is Meredith Lancaster, and I think. Oh no, actually Hayden is primary on call. So if you continue to see issues this week, I would reach out to him.
Cool. All right. Yeah, thanks, Don. I know. Yeah. Oh, sorry for nagging people then.
No, it's all good. I think I only just found out about it after doing a quick search through Slack. So hopefully this will be resolved soon.
Awesome.
Anyone else have anything?
I wonder if anybody knows if there is a tool that can validate Sigstore bundles.
Not that I know
I'm
of yet.
pretty
I
sure
think
the
it's in
answer
progress.
is no. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by validate?
I mean, currently I can produce Sigstore bundles, but the question is like, is it any? I mean, any kind of valid? I mean, it is protobuf inferred, so it is at least valid JSON. But I'm sure the content is kind of in line.
Yeah, if you're just looking for a very quick like formatting check as opposed to going through all of the
the formatting. Yeah, I mean, say checksums or certificates which you have in there as byte arrays. You probably want to like kind of validate them. So that is the validation I'm looking at.
Yeah, my hunch here is that the best story is going to be as we have implementations in other languages that are using the bundles, and you're very much on the cutting edge here. So we appreciate your sense of adventure there. But as other implementations start incorporating the bundles as well, the easiest thing to do is just going to be to do bundles that I produce from Java validate in other languages. And as of right now, there's not like any one tool. William, do you have a story on when, if soon, you're going to be adding this to Sigstore Python?
Yeah, so it's currently on our roadmap for the first release after this last stable. So I think probably in 1.1 in the next maybe month or so, we'll try to have like an initial version of Sigstore bundles merged.
Yeah, if that's not what you had in mind, please file an issue in the protobuf specs repo, and we can talk about whether we can add tooling there to support you. But I think it's probably just going to be easiest to wait hopefully just a couple weeks for Python, and then I trust they'll do a pretty good job, and then you can just see if that parses over there.
Okay. Any other questions? Cool. Okay, we can move on to the final agenda item, which is just intro. So if you're new to the Sigstore community, new to this meeting, and just want to introduce yourself or say what you're working on, or this is kind of your chance to say hello, go for it.
Hey, my name is Omar Tunsi. I am a Purdue University student. I'm working on my senior design project with two of my friends. One of them is Emil. I think he's in this call too. But we're working with Professor Torres Arias to just contribute to Sigstore, and we're trying to familiarize ourselves with the platform. And we're thinking of taking on some issues with the Python client. One of the issues that sort of interested us was 249. Yeah, so we're trying to get on that just to get started and hopefully contribute something.
Awesome. Welcome, and thanks for contributing.
Hi, I'm Jack. I work at Trailbits with Will, who you might be able to tell from my camera is standing like 3 feet behind me. I work on Sigstore Python with Will.
Awesome. Okay, I guess we're done with intros. Thank you everyone for coming to office hours. See y'all in a couple weeks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.